Hey, everybody, welcome to the Coach Steve Smith Show. Jeff Underwood, Jared White. What's up, buddy?
Just the favorite show of the week. We get to talk with the old ball coach. So I'm trying to get this. I got the picture you were talking about. Mr. Jones emailed me the pictures of year three. Jones
Yeah.
boys on the field together. I'm gonna try to email that over to Jeff real quick. We put it on the screen. So cool.
Oh yeah,
It was really really cool.
that was neat.
So, Coach, let's talk about highlights from the last week's game. Let's
Right.
go right into that. Did we get out injury free?
I think so.
Good.
Just normal, couple ankles here or there. Finger, just the normal stuff that you get during the course of a football season. But I feel like that we should be at close to full strength this coming Friday night. Just got some guys that are having to play through some nagging injuries, but nothing really that stands out.
One second, trying to make sure it's good.
Somebody said Jerry stresses the old when he says the old ball coach. It's
Yeah,
supposed to be
one.
OL,
No, it's
Jerry.
it's old, not old.
But he puts the D on it.
Old.
We hear him. We
I,
hear him.
I noticed that
You see how he
myself.
disrespects you like that,
That's-
Coach? That's just
No disrespect
disrespect.
at all. I'm in humble appreciation of you, Coach.
Thank you.
I just pride myself on being a humble servant.
Here's what I want to ask. I'll let you guys get to talk about football real quick. You're impressed with all your guys. You guys are putting up some points. Your defense is freaking stingy, and I love it. I love that's my thing. I love defense. I love inflicting. I like
What is it,
I
Pastor?
like inflicting pain when I play ball. Just want to hit someone. Just
Right.
knock their face off.
Yeah.
Jerry, can we suit up? Would you let us suit up and
I-
just go at each other?
I'll let y'all come to practice one day. I need a couple of guys to run the scout team defense.
I got you.
Oh yeah,
That would be
Careful
fun.
transfer, Coach.
That would be fun.
Jerry
yeah.
ain't scared.
I'm so old now. I'm just gonna lay down and go at ankles. I'm not.
Hey, Coach would say, "How many of y'all signed this waiver?"
Yeah, right. And in there's a policy that he's a beneficiary of, for
You
sure.
got hurt
Yeah.
in school,
But-
send them on.
But Easton Skaggs,
Yes,
Never heard of him.
different.
Yeah.
10th grader,
He's 10th grade. Correct.
6'3",
I'd say closer to 6'2", probably.
6'2",
Yeah, about 240 maybe. somewhere in that range.
and flies to the ball. Just tell me what's different about him, because he's kind of the scuttleboo right now. Everybody's talking about Easton
Yeah.
Skaggs.
Well, he's got off to a good start for us. Our entire defense is playing well, and Easton's been a big part of that. He had a couple sacks the other night, recovered a fumble in the end zone for a touchdown. He's a really good player. He's got a lot of potential. I think he'd tell you right now he's nowhere near where he needs to be as far as this ceiling. I think he's got a lot of room for improvement, a lot of room for growth, but he has gotten off to a good start. He's playing with a lot of energy and has been one of our leaders on that side of the ball. Like I said, very, very pleased with how our entire defense has played to this point, but he has been somebody that has kind of stood out. I think he's got like 6 sacks through 3 games and several tackles for losses, and that's in limited playing time, because he's not played very deep in the games in the second half. But he's had a good week of preparation this week, and along with all of our guys, we felt very good about our work this week. Had a good practice this morning. But just like anybody else that's a 15, 16-year-old kid, consistency, being able to come back and replicate that effort each and every week, not being satisfied with where you're at, continuing to try to get better. That's just what we've been telling all of our kids, because we've had a lot of good things said about our team up until this point. We've come out of the gate and started 3-0 for the first time since 22, I believe. Got a lot of positive energy going on with the program right now. But just like we tell them after a tough loss that you got to flush last week don't have nothing to do with this week. Even when you're riding high and been successful, you have to tell them the same thing. Everything that you've accomplished the first 3 weeks has nothing to do with how tomorrow night's going to go. You just gotta go out and keep on repeating that type of effort and that type of performance, and that's what good teams do. You have to go out there and do it and prove it each and every week, whether the previous one was a good one or a bad one. You got to go out there and do it again and prove your worth.
Andrew Ford just commented. You see his comment. Such a smart aleck. You're a smart aleck. He said the only thing Jeff hit was the water cooler.
It's important.
Right.
Hydration.
Hydration is important.
Uh-oh.
But we didn't have a lot of monitoring of our water cooler, so there may have been some things poured off in there, and we probably did hit it, Kevin Stevens. Since you didn't win, sorry, buddy.
Come get your.
Thanks, Andrew.
Um,
Not hitting your driver because you don't invite us to play.
True. What do you think is obviously every game is important, right? And I'm still back on Locust Fort. You always want to play well,
Mhm.
but a lot of people wanted you guys to win that game so badly, just because the last year's game was such a fiasco.
Yeah.
It was that's one that was good to get.
It was good to get. Locust Fork. They lost a good bit last year. Graduation, like all teams lose people in graduation. They had some injuries early on this year. They've got a really really talented quarterback that they didn't play the other night. He's still trying to get over the previous week's injury that he had. But I don't want to take anything away from our guys. I thought we probably played the best first half that we played in my 3 years at Westbrook. With complete game as far as offense, defense, special teams. Very proud of how our guys played, and there wasn't any extra motivation or anything based on how last year went because Locust Fork was the next game on the schedule, and it was a region game, and I got a ton of respect for Coach Adams and how they do things there, and the success that they've had, during his tenure as the head coach. He's took them to levels that Locust Fork has never been before. So, done a great job there, and it was good for our guys to go out and play well and get a big region win.
Good comment. Somebody said it's the most focused Westbrook team they've seen this year.
Yeah, I think that was probably a good assessment.
Yeah.
And look, last week practice, somebody asked me, said, "Well, what about practice?" I said, "We probably had the worst Tuesday we had all year." So just goes to show you sometimes, your interpretation of things from a coaching perspective. You just got to keep a level head. Maybe the expectations are too high on what I expect every week at practice, but I thought last Tuesday was probably one of our worst practices of the fall, and then we turned around and played really, really well on Friday night. So
that's like playing golf. You never want to start your round with a birdie. Give me that bogey to start.
Why are
right?
you saying that?
Because you birdied and how that worked out.
Yeah. Dang it. He beat me for the first time in a long. Their brother played.
So y'all start
played
talking
his
about
face off.
Well, y'all talk about golf. You're out of my league. I don't know a whole lot about golf. I mean, I know the rules of golf. But I'm not any good.
He knows everything.
Golf. Yes,
I know about it, but I'm not very good at it.
So let's wrap. There's no question.
Yeah.
You would figure it out.
Athletes can play
quickly.
Yeah.
Let's kind of take a look at the 3A Region 6 standings, and it's good to be on the top, right? Good to be on the top, and this game coming up against Piedmont is, you can put any spin you want on it, but like you said, it's the next one,
right?
And this is probably the game that's going to have to take the lead in the region and kind of control your own destiny.
Right. I mean, Piedmont's got a great team, just like usual. They're really talented. They come out of the gates 3-0 themselves. They had a bye week last week, and when you go back and look at their games, their scores, they've not been very competitive. They've handled the last two opponents, in a big time fashion. Played a really good Cherokee County team week 1 or week 0, I guess it was, and really dominated that game. I mean, I think it was 24-0, and Cherokee County returned a kickoff for a touchdown. Was how they scored. Very impressed with their defense and how they're 200 pounds or less at every position, but they give 11 people to the ball. Told our kids the best way to describe it, they play with their hair on fire on defense. Offensively, got a lot of weapons on the offensive side, really good quarterback play. Spreads the ball around. Offensive line is very underrated. They get after it and do a good job of blocking. They got 2 running backs that in Mixon and Howard that they're equally dangerous. It's just one of those situations to where when you watch the film on them, you don't see any visible weaknesses. It's going to take your team playing at a high level to be able to win that game, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be 2 really good football teams squaring off, and they've got the hardware and the history to back up what they're doing, and we're trying to get to that point.
Well, Coach, he's in the coaching tree of Larry Ginn, right?
Coach Miller is Alexander native. That's right.
Yeah. Then he had a lot of success at Sachs, right?
He did.
Yeah. He had some good seasons there.
Oh,
he
yeah.
was there for quite some time.
I think, he was there as a coordinator on the defensive side, I think, for Clint Smith.
Yeah.
And then when Coach Smith left and took the Jacksonville job, Coach Miller got the head coaching job. I think he's the head coach maybe for 11 years, won over 100 ball games there at Sachs. Pretty sure they made the semifinals 2 or 3 times during his time there as the head coach.
That's a challenge for sure.
Just a really good coach, does a great job. He, of course, picked up last year at Piedmont, and they were back in the semifinals. And obviously can manage the team well. He's got great people helping him. They got a great staff. There's a lot of tradition there. The environment there is hard to beat as far as going into a big game. It'll be a lot of fun for us going on the road, playing in that environment. Be a good test for our guys.
going back to last week real quick, what is one thing that Coach Smith and your coaches were pleasantly surprised or pleased with that your guys did really well? You played a great complete game,
Right.
but what's that one thing that stands out in your mind?
Oh, man, that's a tough question there. I hadn't really thought about that. It just continuing to stay focused and playing up to our standard and not necessarily playing the scoreboard. We got off to a fast start, had some good things happen for us and go our way, but I thought we really closed out the first half. And we played our starters the first series, the second half, and then we started subbing in some younger guys, and I felt like that we competed all the way to the end of the game. You get into that time when it's kind of a blowout, and you just try to manage your way through it. And I thought our younger guys that got in there did a really good job. One of my favorite parts of the game, Locust Fork scored. I think it was maybe early in the fourth quarter when they scored. I can't remember exactly what time it was, but they had a 1st and goal on the 2, and we had our young guys in there on the defensive side, and it was still 4th and goal from the 2. We had three stops down there. Those guys were battling, and then we got after them on 4th down, and the quarterback just made a good play for them and found a guy over the middle for a touchdown pass that they kind of slipped out, but that was encouraging because there were a lot of younger guys on the field at that time. And I think a lot of times the young guys get in there, they feel like, well, we're JV, the other team's varsity or whatever's going to score you. We battled and battled and battled there. And, I was real pleased to see those guys giving great effort when the game was out of reach. That was something that made me happy. That's awesome.
Yeah, Jeff is right on. Your defense, you guys are scoring, almost at will, right? You're over 46 points a game. But defensively, you're giving up less than a touchdown a game on the scoreboard. That's pretty impressive.
Well, again, it's one of those things that's all reflecting back on what we've already done.
Yeah.
And it's the numbers are there based on what you have done. But those numbers are not necessarily indicative of what tomorrow night's going to be like or what the rest of the year is going to be like. And it's like I tell the kids. I said I don't think our goal was to be 3-0 and quit the season. That wasn't the goal. The goal is to be able to have a successful season, and hopefully the season stretches on into November, and you're playing your best ball toward the end. I'm not disappointed that we're playing really good right now. You want to play really good every time you go on the field, but the goal from a coach's perspective is to constantly improve, and you kind of set the bar. This is where we're at right now, and you still want constant improvement. Then anything less than that might be deemed as a failure.
Sure.
But again, you don't know the people you're going to play down the road. You don't know the quality of the people you're going to play down the road. And we really have tried to focus this year on just being the best version of us that we could be, and not necessarily worry about who we're playing next or who the next opponent is as far as what they've done. Our goal is to continue to get better from our own perspective. And if we do that, then we should have a chance to be in the ball game.
Well, it's hard for me to believe that Westbrook's not ranked in the rankings this week.
We haven't done enough yet. It's the guys that's voting. If you think about it, these sports writers that vote in these polls range from Decatur to Dothan.
Correct.
They only know what they know of what they've heard of teams. There's a lot of people in the rankings. If you look at them, they're being ranked based on what they did last year and the year before and the year before. And if they've come out of the gate 3-0, 4-0, you have no reason not. So we haven't done enough to be ranked. I don't have a problem with the rankings at all. We need to do it and prove it for an extended period of time before you get that kind of respect and credibility across the state.
This is, regardless of the rankings, is kind of where I was getting to, and I think it's bad these guys aren't ranked, but one of the best games in the state of Alabama this week. I think a lot of eyes on this game, not just because of the history with you being there and good question. Does it feel strange being on the visitor sideline when you go there?
Yeah, it does. I think my first 4 or 5 years that I was at Piedmont, I think 2011 maybe was when the stadium flipped. So I guess my first 5 seasons, that was the home side. So I've watched ball games from that sideline before,
That's helpful, I guess.
Yeah. But it is a little bit different being on that side as the visitors and stuff. We did it one time, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But beautiful stadium, beautiful place to play. Looking forward to that opportunity and looking forward to seeing a lot of familiar faces.
Positive side, they said you ain't got to get nothing ready at the home field.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's true.
That's good. let's talk a little bit about Piedmont if we can.
Yeah.
Obviously, very well coached,
Right.
a lot of talent. You went over. A lot of people want to know how does one go into a game knowing that the caliber of athletes that they have, like
Yeah.
Mr. Pinto
Right.
and some of the other guys.
Yeah, Riley's a great player. He's one of the best players that I've seen in high school around this area in a while, and they do a great job of moving him around, getting him the ball different ways. They throw it to him. He'll take some carries out of the backfield. It wouldn't surprise me if he takes some wildcat snaps. He returns kicks. He's a really talented player, and he's earned everything that he's gotten and all the accolades. I'm proud for him on that. But I think they got a lot of guys on that team. When you look at Mason Morrow as the other receiver, and Talon Swain, a kid they got off the basketball team, Ethan Tidwell, a guy that's kind of a dirty work guy, don't get a lot of publicity. And I mentioned Mixon and Howard, the two running backs. They're both really hard-nosed, smaller kids, but extremely fast, quick in the hole. Cole Austin is a sophomore quarterback, but he's not just a typical sophomore. He's one of those guys that's been playing. He's played varsity baseball for him since he was in 7th grade, so he's played in a lot of big games. The moment's not going to be too big for him. There are 5 guys across the offensive front, just a really good unit there. Defensive front, kind of smallish in size, but they play so fast and so quick. And linebackers, I think the Chandler kid and Kirkpatrick, the 2 inside backers they have, that might be the best set of inside backers that we'll see all year long. They're both downhill type guys. Secondary's got some familiar faces, but got some new guys back there. But at the same time, they're all just solid players. They do a good job in their system, and defensively, Coach Pruitt has tweaked a few things and got some pressure packages and all that we spent a lot of time working on this week with different types of things, bringing people for some different odd looks. They do some things to kind of mess with your tendencies a little bit. They're going to know that I run all the plays to my sideline, so we got to make sure we run some plays to their sideline. Just little things like that, a lot of familiarity with them. And Coach Bell will call in their offense, one of the brightest offensive minds around, young coach. It's going to be a great head coach himself one day. And then just the staff that Coach Miller has put together around them, they're going to be where they're supposed to be. They're not going to mess up. You're going to have to beat them. And that's the kind of challenge that's in front of us right here, and that's what we've been preparing for all week long. And what I've been telling the guys, they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot. They're going to make you have to beat them. They're going to make you drive the ball on them. You're not going to hit a bunch of 70, 80-yard big plays against their defense, and we just got to play like we've been playing and do our job.
Kind of reminds me of the Westbrook team.
Well,
I mean,
that's
the goal, right?
That's kind of the goal. Like I said, you want defensively, you want to make them have to go a long way. You want to prevent big plays. You want to create turnovers. You don't want to turn it over on offense. You want to control the clock. I mean, I think probably the recipe for the game plan on both ends, is going to be pretty similar, but everything looks good on paper and everything looks good on the whiteboard, but you still have to go out and execute it on the.
I just saw his comment. He's not your typical sophomore quarterback. He's 17.
Like I said, he's a seasoned young man, and he's a really
see that.
He's a great player now.
Nice haircut, Coach.
Yeah. Is that Bobby Sims' comment?
No.
Okay.
Andy Frost.
Okay. Well, thanks. Appreciate you, sister.
That's so funny.
Question. This is kind of. Is this the same person I asked yesterday? You said you're a perfection guy. You demand perfection. And there's nothing bad about that. That's great in coaches and leaders.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that you want your guys to improve on this week? The one thing that is stuck in your craw that Coach Smith, you got to get this crap right.
Oh, man. That's another tough question because I really hadn't had I've been looking for some things to gripe about. I hadn't had a whole lot to gripe about, but I guess probably the things that I preach to them more than anything else is just consistency. And staying level-headed. You got to go out and do it again this week, And like I said, it sounds like, well, man, Coach, you ain't real proud of them for what they've already done. I'm extremely proud of them for what they've already done. But what we've already done don't have nothing to do with tomorrow night.
Right.
And you want to go out there and have that same level of intensity, regardless of who you're playing, regardless if it's home or away, regardless if it's a playoff game or a regular season game, regardless if it's a ranked opponent or just somebody that's not ranked. You gotta do it every week. And that means in your preparation, your practice, your film study, being on time to Thursday morning practice, whatever it might be. just the consistency side of it, because I think a lot of times young people kind of get bored with routine.
Mm.
And I've had teams before. I had a very successful team at Piedmont. I had some of my leaders on that team come in one day and say, "Coach, we're bored." And I'm like, "Well, we're winning." So and the kind of, it was like, y'all go. I told them, I said, "Y'all go home, sleep on it tomorrow, tonight. We'll talk about it again tomorrow, and y'all need to decide if you want to keep doing what we're doing, being bored and winning, or if y'all want to start doing fun stuff and run the risk of not winning." Well, they came in the next day and said, "We like winning." And so, but it is, football's a long season. There's a lot. It's a grind to it. You're going in and doing it every week, and sometimes that you just don't feel good. There's sometimes that you don't. You've been a little sick. You got the sniffles. You got allergies, whatever wrong. It just, if you're going to be a good football team to the end, and you want to have a chance to play for something that means something other than just a normal Friday night, you want to play Friday nights in November and possibly in the first Thursday in December, then you got a lot of times, and my own kids have heard me say this, sometimes you have to go through things that ain't fun to have fun.
Praise God for
And
Let me get you to weigh in on this comments here. I'm gonna let you speak to it, Coach.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, how do you stop Pinto? I made the comment in here, you don't stop him, you just hope to limit him.
Yeah, he's a great player. Well, he's a great player, as I mentioned. They're smart coaches. They're going to find ways to get him the ball. He's going to touch the ball tomorrow night. They're not just going to play him as a decoy all night.
Yeah.
And the big key is in the passing game, you got to keep him in front of you. Then when he catches it, he got last year he caught a 5-yard pass against us. They turned into a 40-yard touchdown because he weaved in and out and made us all miss him. He's going to touch the ball. He's going to run the ball. He's going to catch passes. You got to tackle him. You got to get him on the ground and
limit the big plays.
Well, but that goes with any player, but in particular on his end, he gets a lot of the attention because of the season he had last year. He deserves that attention. But just like any other player that you play against, if you don't get them on the ground, that's not going good. You're not playing tag football. It ain't two-hand tag. You got to get them on the ground. You got to be able to adapt. Like I said, I may mention it wouldn't surprise me if they just direct snap at the ball and let him run from a wildcat. That's just another way of getting him the ball. You hadn't seen them do it yet. They hadn't had to do it yet.
Yeah.
But that type of player, he's a Division I college athlete that's already committed to Jack State. He's a handful for anybody to handle one-on-one. So he's going to give anybody in the state that they play trouble in a one-on-one. You just got to know where he's at and try to keep him contained.
Wow. The comments are blowing up.
Easier said than done.
It is easier said than done. But
that was the game plan in 2013. We just needed to contain Kerryon Johnson.
How'd that work?
It didn't work.
That was a lot of game plans against that
2014, trying to contain Kerryon Johnson. He was a pretty good player for 3A football. He wound up being the SEC Player of the Year at Auburn and played with Lions.
Was that the best player you coached against in high school?
He was really good. There was a kid from Cordova named Ryan Smith that was really good. As a little scrawny quarterback at Westbrook Christian when I was at Cedar Bluff.
Starts with a B, right?
Brody, somebody was a pretty good player.
Extremely scrawny.
But when you're preparing and playing against people that wind up going on to college and in the NFL, you just got to preach to your guys, hey, let's go out there and have a good time. You want to always compete against the best. If you want to be the best, you want to compete against the best. You want to be able to compete on the biggest stage against the best. And, at the end of the game, you shake their hand and pat them on the back, and they're a human being just like anybody else. But, it is fun when you play against people of that caliber, and then you see them 6-8 years down the road playing on Sundays. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow. You're building a team. You've built it at Piedmont everywhere you've been. You've built a team of guys that you put out, or maybe they don't play at the next level, but they're good men. They're good young men. And I think that for you, yes, you get pride. You get pride, and you take joy in seeing these guys play at the next level.
Right.
But we've talked to a bunch of coaches, and one of them made a statement that blessed me so much, and I think you probably feel the same way. He said, it blesses me more and encourages me more to be walking downtown and seeing one of my former players with his wife and his children walking down the street.
No doubt.
No doubt. That's what it is, right?
And a lot of people think Coach Smith don't care about kids getting to go to college. That's the farthest thing from the truth.
Sure.
I think over the course of time, I can't tell you. A lot of people can quote how many went here, went there. I think we've had over 50.
We know a couple.
Yeah, we know some.
We've had over 50 players in my tenure between Cedar Bluff, Piedmont, and Westbrook that are playing at the next level. We got 3 or 4 kids from Westbrook that are playing at the next level right now. We don't
Couple
go
good
out.
baseball players too.
We don't go out and just publicize that, pat ourselves on the back, because I think that's more the work of the kids than it is the coach. I'm not the social media guy that promotes recruiting and all that other stuff, but I'm all for kids getting an opportunity to play at the next level. But my job is to coach a high school football team, and we know that 99% of those guys are not going to play at the next level. So teaching them values, virtues, hard work, teamwork, accountability, and then hopefully, like you said, seeing them 15 years later on, walking down the street with their wife and their kids, and they're good Christian men. They're doing things the right way. They're leading their families. They're hard workers. That's what my job is. And I've been blessed to be at places where kids had a lot of self motivation, had a lot of parental influence behind them to do right. And as a coach, if I had to step in and be the father figure, then I stepped in and tried to do that. If it was one of those situations where they had mom and dad at home, and I was just a supplement to what their mom and dad was teaching them, and I could help in some way, some small part. But coaching football has never been about me building a record and a sheet that I can tell you how many kids I got to college or I did this. I don't do none of that stuff. They do all the work. They put the work in and they earn that. My job is to be a vessel and a spokesperson for them if they have that opportunity.
Yeah.
But the kids put the work in. They do the work. They earn the scholarship. And I get a little frustrated sometimes when I hear coaches tout how much they've done to get kids scholarships and stuff. That's kind of, I'm not real big on the self-promotion thing, and would rather the players that play for me leave the program saying, man, coach was really big on keeping everybody together as a team. And I'd rather win 15 games and have a team than win 7 games and have 3 guys sign scholarships. That's just, that's my team.
I do think you went into great detail. I think most people appreciated talking about kids on your current team that could have a chance last week.
That's right.
You went into great detail about
and
that.
I'm sure I missed some guys on that. That was not,
still,
but it's kind of, I don't really, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not something that, we're not going into this week thinking, well, this is a big game. What can we do for so-and-so to get more hype and publicity?
You've always been a team guy.
It's about the team. And if the team's good, I
look at
back.
The coaches were under that you come up under.
Right.
They were team
guys. And if the team was successful, then the people that needed the recognitions, whether it was all county, all region, all state, or potential scholarship, those people got that attention. But, I think we live in a society right now that's real big on self-promotion. If there's not somewhere that kids are getting a little bit of a level-headed approach on, it takes a village, it takes a team, it takes a group. They get enough of that me stuff when they get on their phones and get on their Instagram or their TikTok or Facebook or whatever.
Coach preach.
We see enough of the stuff where they're being told it's about them. There's a good healthy dose that's about us that they also need to be fed.
That's right.
A couple of quick comments here. Let's go over this. Someone says Chris Lombardo was the running back at Westbrook when you were at Cedar Bluff.
68 to 63, and Lombardo had 7 touchdowns, including a kickoff return. That was
he talked about that.
That was a 68-63 game that we won at Cedar Bluff. It was not overtime. That was the game I was telling you about. That we returned the kickoff, then he returned the kickoff, and then we returned the next one. So we had back-to-back kickoff returns. I don't know if me or Coach Osborne either one practiced defense that week.
This is a great comment too. He says, "I'll always hold a grudge against Piedmont because they beat me in the playoffs my senior year last year. I hope Westbrook beats their butts." Oh, and then one of my favorite people in the world on here, Coach Short.
Coach Short again.
He said, "See you on the field tomorrow night. Good luck."
I appreciate it.
Coach Short. Give me who are you picking with a score?
Oh, I know Coach Short good enough. He ain't
going to
say that. Ain't gonna happen.
Right. I knew it either, so I was just going to tell. What a good dude.
Great guy.
He should be coaching.
Well, and then I hope the next time he puts a whistle on, it's for Westbrook. I ask him every year. Yeah. And he's in granddaddy mode right now, and I fully respect that.
Heck yeah.
I say that. I do think he is helping out a little bit, a couple of days a week at Heflin. His old school Coach Lee, back there as the head coach, used to be his offensive coordinator, I think, back when he was the head coach. And so
he's got so much to give.
Yeah, he does. Coach Short's great, but again, he's a great coach. I said this last week on here. He's one of the best men you'll ever meet in this profession, and I think a whole lot of him. Hopefully, one day can get him back on the
Well, I'd love to
sideline.
see it.
Yep.
Hey, read Andrew Ford's last comment.
He's laughing, but then he said Andrew Ford was the tall slot receiver that caught the ball at the half and slid into the back fence. Great times.
Was that Cedar Bluff?
Yeah.
Cedar, yeah, we had one of those fields at Cedar Bluff that the state they implemented a rule. You're supposed to have 5 yards around the boundaries of your field, or you have to protect everything. So my last few years at Cedar Bluff, my wife can probably remember this. We had to take the insulation noodles, whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
and we had to do the top rail all the way around the fence, and then every fence post of the chain link we had to put noodles on to pad it
Goodness.
because the field at Cedar Bluff did not have the mandatory 5 yards beyond the end lines of the end zone. And so if you ever caught a go or a fade in that back corner, then more than likely you were going to wind up in the fence, even if it was your own momentum.
Dude,
So,
I did that at Murphy Stadium.
That's what I'm saying. It's
In
like
the back
that.
that was rock wall at
Yeah.
Murphy Stadium.
I did. I flipped over the fence.
I've hit the rock wall at Murphy Stadium before.
Hey, so Coach Sloan Smith, you may not know who that is, asked if you know how to fish.
I've got some pretty good I've got some pretty good fishing advisors in my own family right there. If that's what he's looking for. But
That's funny.
hey, that's good. And if the next question is, well, tell them about the one that you've lost the last 2 times we've been in the pond. So yeah, I've lost a monster the last 2 times that we went.
Coach Short said, "Not going there. Don't pick the scores." I know who does.
Kevin Moore, Kevin's Corner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just wish more people watch that show, man. He's hilarious.
He is hilarious.
He's fun. It's a fun show. Fun. I don't know if you get a chance to watch it. He's fun. What else do we got? Hey, can you put the picture up? I emailed it to you.
Email it to
I
me?
want you. I
I'll see
want
if I
you
can
to
find
see those boys on the field. Then, really, Coach, what I want to get you to do is walk us through the defense when you see this picture.
I don't see anything. That's the thing you always
You
talk
will.
about.
Well, no, we're going to show it to you.
I don't
If I can't get it on the screen, I'll still show it to you.
Okay. I don't even know if I'm on the camera right now, so I'm always sitting there.
You don't because you're always doing this. The
true.
camera's over there.
Well, I don't.
It's still better
these
than-
things are all set up everywhere, but I can't tell what's looking at me.
It's still better than Rush.
Oh my gosh! Don't put your forehead against the back there, Coach. What you not?
He's just taking a little nap in between.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
he's busy,
We
Coach.
understand.
He's a
tired.
busy guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
hold on, let me show this up for you.
See if I can pull it
Of
up.
course, they can see you, Coach. You get all the haircut comments.
Yeah. Okay, I get
That's
stuff.
true.
Hey, well, while we're trying to pull this up, do you mind talking about what you're telling us with how cool it was to have Chapel yesterday with Pro Throw being there? What a great
Yeah,
honor it was to be there. I'm sure.
Yeah, Wednesdays, at Westbrook is our chapel day, and they had a special guest speaker yesterday, Tyrone Prothrow, and of course we are all old enough to remember his
Mhm.
playing days. It's like I was telling my son, I said I think his injury was 2005. And these kids weren't even born and they're playing now.
Yeah.
That's 20 years ago. But had a great story and spoke a lot. I didn't realize how close the 2 things he's most remembered about. The first thing being that catch that he made against Southern Mississippi, where he caught the ball, wrapped around the Southern Miss guy, and held it all the way to the ground. And the catch, I think, is what
Yep.
they did. That was, Daniel Moore might have deemed it the catch. And then it was only like 4 weeks later
Hand me that
that
ball.
he got injured against Florida. And cool that Brody was the thrower,
Yeah.
passer on both those plays, and so as they started Chapel off yesterday, they showed those 2 plays and, talking about triumph to tragedy and then back. But Tyrone did an outstanding job, speaking. Coach Short was Tyrone's coach at Heflin. So,
Did
Really?
not put that together. I didn't realize
so
that.
he was, and then Jason Johnson, who we've hired this year to be our assistant boys basketball coach, was Tyrone's basketball coach at Heflin during that same time. Jason's an Alexander graduate that is a year older than me. But anyway, just having Tyrone there speak and those kids getting to hear a little bit about that from a historical standpoint.
Yeah.
Of course, they knew that Brody and Brandon played with him at Alabama and asking questions about Brody and Brandon and people that are Westbrook legends. Tyrone did a really good job talking about his perseverance and his mama being his rock as far as the steadying influence in his life, and how easy it was to get thinking high and haughty about yourself, and then all of a sudden you get broken back down with an injury. And talked a little bit about Coach Saban coming in, because that would have been his 4th year.
Yeah.
Coach Saban's coming in. Of course, Tyrone never played again, but talked about how Coach Saban stayed on him about his grades, even though he wasn't playing football. He was still on a medical scholarship, and our medical red shirt and stayed on him by his grades and kept him in line with doing what he was supposed to do. And they run the ball out for the 2006 Iron Bowl, I think, versus Auburn.
So
You know, it was kind of a moving moment for everybody there in the stadium because he had quickly become a fan favorite.
Yep.
Number one, because of how good he was as a player, but number two, you know, the big plays that he made that stood out kind of in that Alabama history during that time period, and you know, there wasn't a whole lot of positive that went on a lot during the Shula days, the post Dubose days, the post Mike Price days, whatever you want to say.
Stuff like that.
You know, but he was kind of a shining light.
sure he
Of course,
was.
Brody was part. I think they went going to the Cotton Bowl maybe.
Coach
and,
Shore said Todd Bates played with him in that Bama
And
team
Todd
also.
Bates, you know, is defense coordinator out of Oklahoma, or co-defense coordinator at Oklahoma.
Is
you
it
know.
co-defense coordinator?
I want to say he's a
Yeah.
co-defense coordinator, maybe assistant head coach, but
Yeah.
you know, Todd's one of those guys that you expect anytime now to get a head coaching job.
Overdue, I think.
That's right. Worked with Dabo, worked with Coach Cross at Jack State for a while, played at Alabama, but just hearing Tyrone talk and the inspiration that he could be for those kids, you know, and then the cool part, you know, after it was over with, I bet there was 100 students that stayed around to try to either get an autograph or
That's
a picture or something, you know, and it was really neat to see a guy come back, kind of giving back a little bit to the youth. He's coaching ball at Jasper now.
I didn't
Nice.
realize
I
that.
did not realize that myself, but he's actually coaching at Jasper, so
Good for him.
I'm sure making an impact on young people there.
All right, show him the picture on yours. I'm gonna put it
Okay,
on the screen,
Yeah, let me pull this back up.
and then you ask your question.
There's the picture. Got the arrow.
Well, then that's
Tell me the defense.
uh,
What are we doing?
what are you asking me for? Are you asking me about the Jones boys?
Yeah, the Jones boys. That's the arrows at the three Jones boys.
Okay, let me see. Well, yeah, they were. I was thinking about it. Sacks last week was the first, or 2 weeks ago was the first time they all got in, but I guess they all were in at one time. That's a home game. This was this past week against Locust Fork. So let's see here. This is at defensive end with his hand on the ground here. This is Maximus Jones, who's a senior, the outside linebacker that's standing right there on the 0 or the 30. That would be Titus at outside backer. And then 23 is not Justice right here. I don't know why he's got an arrow. That's Carter Cochran. But, that arrow, just give me that arrow. It's pointing at Titus. Up top is Justice playing safety. He's guarding the slot receiver up top. But, you know, Maximus is a senior, as I mentioned. Titus is a junior, and then Justice is a freshman. They all three have been really good players and good contributors this year for us.
I thought it was just cool.
That's awesome.
It's crazy, but I didn't even realize Justice wound up starting at safety last week because we had an injury to our starting safety, Maddox Mooney, and I didn't even think about all three of them getting on the field again last week. But so,
How cool is that, though?
it is cool. It is cool to have three brothers out there on the field at the same time.
How cool is it that you have some young kids getting meaningful playing time early in their careers?
Yeah. A lot of these guys that we got there are juniors and seniors this year. Bo Kilgo, Jake Haney, Brody Blevins, a lot of the names that people hear a lot. Brody Wood, Brody Johnson.
I just say
a
Brody.
lot of those guys, you know, Cooper Lancaster, a lot of those guys started as sophomores, and some of them started as freshmen even, you know. So a lot of the names are familiar sounding names, and they sound like they've been in the program for a long time. But Justice is a freshman this year who's gotten a lot of considerable playing time as far as competitive moments in the game. And, you know, he's done a really good job for us. He's going to be a fine player.
Good question here. What do you want to see, not talking about numbers, what do you want to see from your quarterback this week?
I think Brody just needs to play like he's been playing. His leadership is always, we talk about that every week. His leadership is best attribute, but, you know, he needs to be able to run our offense and play within the scheme of the offense like he has been doing. Not try to not try to do too much. Just do what you're supposed to do. He's carried us pretty much this year on the offensive side more with his arm than with his legs, but you know he's got an ability to run the football too. And you know, just I think just his poise and his confidence and his leadership being contagious amongst everybody else in the huddle is the biggest thing.
He was known for his running ability before he developed, right? He was
was
running first.
Well, his freshman year he didn't play quarterback for us because he played safety. And then last year he moved to quarterback, and he did rush for about 1,500 yards last year in 10 games. But
just 1,510 games.
I put him in some tough situations, running 25 to 30 times a game in several games last year, and we've tried to be more conscientious this year about keeping him upright minimizing how much he's had to do as far as in the run game. Now, that's not to say he won't pull it down on a pass play and take off running. But he has put in a tremendous amount of time and energy and effort working on his passing side of the game. His passing
Stronger arm than I thought, actually.
Arm strength is not a question. His kicking, playing at 55, 60 yards. He had a touchdown he threw in our jamboree against Hopes Bluff where he was moving to his left, and he flipped it about 45, 46 yards in the end zone with a big guy bearing down on him. Arm strength has never been a question. Decision making has gotten a lot better. Yeah. His accuracy's gotten a lot better. You're looking at a kid here that if you know he's a baseball football guy. Baseball might be where his future lies because he's an extremely talented baseball player as well. He's also a guy I think that if college football was something he wanted to pursue, then I think he's got the potential to play that as well at the quarterback position even.
Cardavian Myers, another great quarterback from Piedmont.
Yep, he was one that I had. Yep.
All right, last question for me, Coach, and we'll let you get to it. Perfect weather conditions, game on the line. Right. What is the furthest distance that you, how to phrase, that you feel confident with your kicker? Game on the line, perfect weather conditions.
Right. I'd say he's good. I'd say he's good 55 in that situation, and that with the adrenaline flowing.
Yeah.
Consistently 50, but I think if it was game on the line and the adrenaline is out there, I think he could be good 55. And I've seen him make a 55-yarder on video. I've seen him make a 52-yarder with me there. So
it's the sound.
Yeah.
It's the sound that you can tell different kickers.
Right.
From the sound of the football. Like in the golf, a good driver, you don't got to look to see where Andrew Ford hits the ball. You can hear. Yeah. It's a long ways.
Yeah, he's I feel confident with that. I got a lot of confidence in Reed, and I think that situation presented himself ever in a game to where it was a kick to win, and I feel very confident that he can go out there and knock it through.
Awesome. A lot of coaches don't have that.
No,
you've not had it before. I mean,
well, I've had some really good kickers over the years. I've had some that were so. I've had years that we didn't have really anybody. I mean, but 31 years, I've watched the kicking evolve from square toe, or taking the strap, tying your toe up. People trying to kick soccer style, but they really kick it with their toes still. Yeah. Lining up soccer style, but still kicking it with a straight on mentality. To kicking it soccer style, but not knowing really how to kick it, what part of your foot. I mean, I'm not a kicking guru. I kicked in high school, but I was a straight on punch it through guy. So I'm not the best person in the world. I know if he's right footed and he's pulling it to the left and he's swinging his leg. I mean, that's just one of the things. Kind of like the baseball coach when you strike out, he tells you to keep your eye on the ball. So I can state the obvious when he's pulling the ball or something. Yeah. But most of the time, he's planting a little too short of the tee. Mm-hmm. But when you really look at the essence of a soccer style kicker and somebody does it right, it's not comfortable looking because it doesn't seem like you should have your toe in front of the ball on your plant foot. But their plant foot, usually the middle of their plant foot is even with the ball. So they've got half their foot past the ball. And then when you we're old, but if you just try to turn your leg over, and swing it through so that you're kicking it with that instep, you're not kicking it with the bottom side of your foot. You're really kicking it like where your shoestrings are on that inner part of your foot. It's hard. It's a hard motion to just replicate on air.
Yeah.
But those guys that do it, man, you watch those guys in the NFL. I was watching part of an NFL game. I guess it may have been Monday Night Football, the late game.
Yeah.
After I got home from our junior high game, and they were talking about how a 50-yarder now in the NFL is just pretty much automatic.
Yeah.
And I can remember the days when I was a kid growing up. If somebody made a 50-yarder, it was a big deal. You might go through a whole season, and the kicker might not ever make a 50-yarder. And now there's kickers making that kicker from the Cowboys. They say if you just get across midfield for the kicker and the Cowboys, he's in field goal range.
Yeah. So funny, he's a Notre Dame guy, but he played soccer. He didn't play football. Then he went to the USFL to start kicking football.
Right.
Yeah. It's an incredible story, Jeff.
That kind of goes about Notre Dame's ability to evaluate talent. I think if they didn't have him out for football.
No, I agree, Coach. I agree. We're you'll never hear me say anything we're 0-2.
All I gotta say is whoever they're playing. I grew up as a kid hating Notre Dame.
that's okay.
I'm an Alabama fan and whoever Notre Dame's playing, but I do have a ton of respect for Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
I think Marcus Freeman's a really good guy, and I think he's a great coach.
Great coach. For sure.
Hey, let's end it with these two comments, Jeff.
Are these comments I get
talking
to
about Brad?
I get to refute
You
them?
can. You can.
All right, I'll refute
You're
them.
not going. It's not going to matter.
Man, could you imagine a high school game being decided by, is that the one you're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, yeah.
By a 50-plus yard field goal? That would be amazing.
Right.
And then I guess Southside doesn't have to imagine that. Really?
Yeah, you don't.
So I'm not commenting.
you
on
do
that.
not.
Was that something? I don't know what to comment on that.
Jerry loves those types of comments.
I'm a fan of Mr. Jones, right?
Yeah.
He's good material.
Well, I'll say this. I can remember one time in my life as a kid. I mean, I can remember games coming down to an extra point or something in overtime. That the last play was a kick. One time in my life as a kid, I think I was probably in 5th or 6th grade. I remember going to the Center versus Alexandria game, and Alexandria kicked a field goal. I think the guy's last name was Woodruff. He kicked a field goal to beat Center down there, and it was like a 45-yarder. And of course, we thought when they lined up for it, there's no way he can kick it that far. But he had one of those square toe shoes that he put on.
Yes.
And of course, I was growing up in a time where I was a wrestling fan. I was Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Sure.
And of course, we thought he loaded up his. I didn't know what a square toe shoe was, and we thought he loaded up his shoe like they did Dusty Rhodes or somebody in the
American
wrestling
Dream,
ring.
baby.
Was cheating. I remember just being. I remember being livid.
Did he
leaving
put the
that
strap
play.
on there?
No, it wasn't a strap. It was a little
Just
square
a
toe
square
shoe.
toe.
No strap, and it looked like we somebody said it had steel in the toe of it. We was mad as kids leaving that as cheap and all, but that's the only time I think I can remember a game coming down to a made kick, a made field goal to end one.
Hey, Wiley Corals asked about our cousin Bo Kilgo. He talked about Bo. Hey, still pray a lot of prayers going to your family and your sister, man.
Yep.
I hope everything is good with those surgeries. So,
All right.
Coach, let's go get a dub.
Okay. That's the goal.
Oh, hey, hands down. Mr. Mayor's watching. Joe Taylor.
Hey, Mayor.
Sir. Can't wait for our lids and our triplet show.
It's going to be a great show
Tuesday.
on Tuesday with
It's going to be
Mayor
awesome.
Taylor.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much.
Michael Short says Woodruff killed it. He was at that game.
Oh.
Michael Short was everywhere.
Michael Short, he's everywhere.
Go Short everywhere.
Like I said, I think I was probably around 80, 81, somewhere. Now, I don't remember exactly what year it was, but I know I was in either 5th grade, 6th grade, somewhere in that range, because I remember going to that game and
Heck yeah.
all the way home, I remember thinking they cheated. He had on a loaded boot or something. He had something.
Thinking Mr. Ratzer number 2.
I never had seen anything like that.
What was that Iron Sheik?
Was it Claw?
Well, don't you mess with that.
Well,
did they ever demask wrestling number 2? Did they?
Well, if they did, remember they always throw a towel on. He'd crawl up on the ring, you could never see his face.
I'm gonna put who was someone put grass carp, Coach.
Grass carp. Who said that?
Aaron Stutter.
That's a freaky looking
That
fish.
Aaron Stutter. That I'd save that for another week. Our time's about up there. But grass carp is I'm an Aaron Stutter fan and a grass carp guy.
And we already know what the first play is going to be tomorrow night. Someone said
That's bad.
Right, 24-5. Put everybody over in that hole.
That's awesome.
Frost KD says we could see that kick at Piedmont, Alabama Field of Champions tomorrow night.
Well,
good.
I hope it's an opportunity. If it comes down to a kick at the end of the game tomorrow night to win it, I'll trust Reed Barber.
How about that? That's right. Coach, thank you so much.
Yep.
Westbrook fans, they already said in the comments, you don't have to worry about the crowd or the atmosphere because Westbrook's bringing it with them. So you guys get out there and get to the Field of Champions.
Rowdy Christian.